by Sports Interaction, Canada Sportsbook.
Hello. Hello, my name is Kaja. Welcome to Game Over Vancouver. The Canucks just beat the Chicago Blackhawks 5-2 in Rick Tockett's first game behind the bench. Before I introduce my guest for the evening and get into, the game and what's going on generally for this team, a little message for you. Think you know what way it's going to go? Make your bet with Sports Interaction. Whether it's hockey, football, or basketball, Sports Interaction has you covered. Bet pregame, live in-play, or on one of our many prop bets. Sports Interaction makes it easy to deposit, play, and cash out. Join now and see all sports betting has to offer. Want to bet? Head to sportsinteraction.com/SDPN. That's sportsinteraction.com/SDPN. 19 plus, please play responsibly. All right. So now that's out of the way, I have a guest today.
Ding,
Wonderful.
Ding, 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 ding,
Hello.
Yay. Hi.
Hello.
It's us. We did it.
We did it. Yeah.
We watched them win a game. That was nice.
We survived the Canucks. I get to cover a Canucks win. This has happened like twice. I've been doing this the whole season. Okay. This is Arash Memarzadeh.
Beautiful. You did
you.
such a good amazing. That
Okay.
was your mic for us coming into this post-game show. It's seemingly that was your Michael Jordan flu game. Like, that was the thing that you're really worried. Is like, I really just want to get it within the same stratosphere of his last name. And you did such a good job.
I don't know. I've been called Kaja or Kyle my entire life, so like it's.
Oh no.
Kyle was a big one when I was a kid. I have no idea how. Yeah. So I'm just like, names, gotta get it. All right. He's a co-host of the Pucks on Net podcast. Do you want to introduce yourself a little bit? Or...
Yeah, so this is my second time on the post game show. My name is Arash Memarzadeh. That's the way that normally every person who's not making an effort probably would pronounce it. I'm a co-host of Pucks on Net, one of Vancouver's longest hockey-based podcasts, with my co-hosts Ryan Schapp and Gita Reddy. We're still here. We're exhausted. We're too old for this. But hey, go Canucks, go. This win, a lot of neat things. I mean, we have to temper expectations that this was Chicago. So
Yeah.
no one, please, no one, like, don't go to the Vancouver District City Council and be like, we need to plan a parade down Burrard. It's gonna happen. Don't do that. But
the mayor was there, so they could ask.
Oh no, Ken Sim was there.
He was. I left during the beginning of the game, and then I come back and he's just standing there for the ceremonial face-off, and I was like, why is the mayor there? And then I remembered, well, I knew it was like the Lunar New Year, but I was like, the mayor's in Rogers Arena. Oh.
And you can also celebrate Lunar New Year if you have $750 to buy a jersey. Because it's special edition, right? They'll never make one again.
Yeah,
they can't make any more.
Consumerism.
Oh, capitalism. But how are the vibes for you? Because going into this game, no one really knew what to expect. I think people had some very strong emotional reaction to what happened over the weekend.
Yeah, personally, I had a strong emotional reaction, but that was live on stream. Anyway, no tears today, I will say. Yeah, Tocchet coming in, that was... Well, you can't really say it's a shock, because it's not. Elliot Friedman sat in front of us a week before it happened and told us it was happening.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I thought it was interesting. It was definitely a different vibe than the Chicago Blackhawks games that I remember watching as a child.
Yeah, very different.
Yeah.
Very, very, very different. This was not, this is like you going and watch, like, I don't know, going back and having like really nostalgic feelings over a movie. And then you go back and when you're older, you're like, oh man, this movie actually sucks.
Yeah.
Like, why did I, it's like,
so
oh, why did I think Inception was really good? This movie makes no sense.
Yeah.
kind of is what it is.
That
Yeah.
That's me going back and like watching Star Wars now compared to when I was 4. It was super cool when I was 4, and now I'm just like, this is so dumb, but I still love it. Yeah, it was certainly a hockey game going into it. I didn't have expectations of anything. I was like, if we
Right.
win it, okay. If we lose it, better. But um, better because one, I think that management made a bad choice. That's just my opinion. Two, uh, Bedard seems like pretty cool. I don't know. He seems decent. One of his jerseys, it was like a SpongeBob special edition. Did you see it sold
No.
for 13 grand?
See, I would buy that for 13 grand because if it's like, but if you're coming out with a new SpongeBob uni every year, and then I'm
Yeah.
gonna be like, whatever. Well, going back to when you said that you didn't agree with the move or what management did. Is that just like the firing of Bruce, or just how that was handled in general?
How it was handled in general, but also the
Right.
firing of Bruce. I feel like they've said multiple times they don't want to pay 3 coaches. I understand the team wasn't doing well, but also what did management do to aid that?
Mm-hmm.
If Rutherford can complain about all he wants about not moving cap space, you're the one that signed everyone to the cap and is now struggling, so
Mm-hmm.
kind of your fault. To get into the game,
Oh, there is a game. Right.
there was a
Let's
game
not,
that happened. Yeah,
let's not sit around and do past
it
trauma
was
for the
yeah.
next time.
It was really interesting. I was driving back and I was listening to the radio on my way home from school today. Because it was like just before the game started. I pulled into my driveway at 7. I was so scared. And like they're listening. They didn't know how to like approach this because it's 2 teams that are at the bottom of the league. They're completely, I guess, the Canucks from the glory of the early 2010s and the Chicago Blackhawks. I don't want to call it their glory of the early 2010s because they don't deserve that title, considering, but they had some cups, and Coy Crawford said something funny at a parade once. That's about all I care about them.
Right. Amen.
It was the first period was definitely, yeah. For a lot of power plays, this game had only 1 goal out of the 7 was scored on a penalty killer power play. And it was the last one because it was the empty net Horvat goal.
Right.
So I'm not like, does that count? Should we count that? It does count technically, but
I think at this point we kind of we have to count everything as we can. We can't be counting beans at the till and being like, oh well, this one's good or this one's that. This was Talk's first game, and we saw them go 3 for 3 on the on the PK, which, man, okay, that's a start.
that's better than it usually was.
Better, exponentially better than it usually is. Bo gets the empty net goal. We saw, again, we have to paint everything that this was against a team that is intentionally bad.
Yeah.
This is not, Chicago's just, they Brian Bickle's still on IR and they're hoping he comes back sometime soon. They are intentionally tanking. They are intentionally being bad. They are resetting against a Canucks team that went into the season with much, much, much higher aspirations, much, much, much higher hopes. But I think what was, from the first period on, the thing we can really take away from this was that we saw an even distribution among all players. We saw Dakota Joshua go up and down the lineup as Rick Tocchet was seeing who was going and who wasn't. We saw a steady dose of Connor Garland, JT Miller again. JT Miller. Say whatever we want to say about the frustration that has come from watching JT Miller on a night-to-night basis under Bruce Boudreau in the last few years, and the sulking and everything. Tonight was
his best game of the season.
Tonight was he was playing with purpose. The back checks, the puck hounding, the puck possession. Just I can't recall the last time I saw JT Miller scoop back in front into the neutral zone, back in the defensive zone, hound the puck carrier, get the puck, and then go back down these. Normally JT will turn it over, sulk on a scooch, and then hopefully someone on our team gets the puck back to him. This was like a 200-foot performance by JT Miller, and that's credit where credit is due. I don't know if you agree that contract is all okay now, but
it's not completely forgiven.
No,
but
it's not for sure.
Decent. Like, okay, there are worse contracts in this league. There's Drew Doughty. But
well, there's Seth Jones who
Seth
his
Jones
extension I don't think it's kicked in yet. Might have actually, but
I think
it's Seth Jones tonight getting turnstiled by like every single person that he's been assigned to.
I can check. Seth Jones was a -3.
Sick.
Seth Jones had an assist. He was -3, and he had 3 shots on net.
Sick. That's dope. But yeah, those were kind of my few takeaways. Now I was worried. The second Colin Delia goal was. I thought to myself, okay, we've been here before. They are out shooting. The possession was off the charts. They were pressing. They were able to gain entry into the attacking zone fairly easily, fairly quickly on transitions. But there still was that lingering doubt. There still was that lingering kind of feeling of, oh man, we're gonna get 50 shots on net and still lose against Peter Mrazek.
It was very interesting watching, because I think I tweeted in the first, it was like we were getting goalied by Peter Mrazek. Now, as somebody who is also a part-time Leafs fan, I'm familiar with Peter Mrazek. So the fact that we were getting goalied by this man, he ended the game, by the way, with a .915 save percentage, allowing 4 goals. We had so many shots on net. We had like 20 by the end of the first. We had 30 halfway through the second.
Mm-hmm.
And that was just before, I think that was even before we had the Kuzmenko goal. Or it was like we got the Kuzmenko goal with 30 shots on net.
Yeah. And, bringing up Andrei Kuzmenko, again, we're saying, like, I don't know if you saw Dan Milstein on Twitter, his agent. He has this habit of every time one of his clients does something really big, he'll post like money bags or something.
Yeah, my favorite thing.
It's so good. And so with Andrei Kuzmenko, we're seeing, that's another narrative that's going to continue to develop, is that, for me, he's turning 27, I believe, very early February. He's turning 27. Here's a player that, I look at someone like Connor Garland, and I continually think that Andrei Kuzmenko is everything we want Connor Garland to be, but Connor Garland just has never kind of fit into that comfortability. Now Rick Tockett's here. He's had some success under him. The OEL discussion is. Oh man, OEL.
We'll get into that in a second.
Yeah. So we look at Andrei Kuzmenko, and the narrative that's going to be pressing is, are they going to really push to find some more cap space in order to resign him? Are they going to resign him to a bridge so he goes from 27 to 30, and then he'll cash in from 30 onwards, depending on how well he does? Funny enough, the amount of NHL general managers that were at Rogers Arena due to the top prospects game happening over at the I believe it's the LEC.
Yeah.
Langley Event Center. So it was really funny. And the first thing that really popped into my head, and I tweeted about it, was, Luke Shen gets a breakaway right out of the penalty box. And in my head, there are like, 5, 6, 7, how many ever general managers there? And in my head, I'm like, it's going to be, the ask is multiple firsts at this point.
Oh yeah, no, definitely. Like
if he only went bar down, then I would have been like, it's McDavid or bust.
Oh yeah, no.
Really, this foundational defenseman.
Like Dorian was there. Give us like Stützle. Honestly, you saw that.
Fair do. Defense is really hard to get in the NHL, Pierre. You really have to give something to get something.
Exactly.
And we will reluctantly take Tim Stützle Or is it Stützle or Stützle?
I think it's Stützle.
I have a German girlfriend, so I have to.
You might have to double check.
I'm in the doghouse.
Oh
darn.
no.
It's okay.
I don't know. I just know everyone I've ever heard, or like in my head, it's been pronounced as Stützle, so I'm not sure.
I'm trying, just like my last name. I'm trying my best out here.
Yeah, it was beginning of this game. I thought it was a little funny. When when Kane was the first goal and like no one reacted. Like they just kind of like solemnly skated towards the bench. I'm like, could you imagine if Patrick Kane had scored like 10 years ago that same goal? It would have been insanity. Like just in general from both teams, but everyone's just like, yeah, whatever.
It was kind of the no sell was really amazing. We went from Patrick Kane swimming around like he's a fish after he scores a goal to him solemnly being like, I know we're not going to keep this.
Yeah.
It's okay. It's fine. But yeah, I mean, it is to be said again. It is a very unique tale of it's something I told my dad before we started watching this game, that I told him, don't get trapped on the fugazi of the Canucks doing really well in the back half of this season. You always have to kind of see where they kept up with in the last week in the Bruce gauntlet that he went through. That's the bar. That's where they need to be, and they very evidently weren't. Now, the plan, I believe, from now on till the end of the year is going to be kind of multi-tiered, where Rick and his staff are going to come in and they're going to, when people say break people down, but they want to know what they have. They want to know which players here have the wherewithal or the mental mindset to play the way that they want to instill a culture that, Kaja, I believe, if you agree with me, there really isn't too much of a culture right now.
Yeah.
Within that locker room and everyone. So they have to build that from Abbotsford on upward, and they have to kind of clear some space, clear some room, and they need, someone to go in there and not any offense to Bruce, because what happened to Bruce on a personal level for me really was heartbreaking, and it really was something that I don't agree with morally, in terms of how you treat people and how you treat people with a certain amount of dignity, and you look out for them way ahead of things. If you see the iceberg coming, it's within your duty to get that person away from the iceberg, kind of deal. So, good start for them. We saw some bright spots kind of coming through. Goaltending still, man. I don't know. When do you think Demko is going to be back? Do you think they'll bench? Do you think they'll IR him to IR Island, or they'll bring him back before the end of the year?
Honestly, if this team hopes to get, their local superstar, I think they should IR him personally, give him as much time. I think they put him in to the season too fast. Because, he had surgery in the off season. He comes in and it's not playing to the Demko level that we thought. He was obviously injured. He played injured for a month last year, which was insane. But I think, I don't know if they should IR him. Of course, if he's feeling 100%, I guess, if he wants to get back in and get some playing time. But at this point, it's not like we're going to make the playoffs. So I feel like if he's going to be 100% Demko, or even 90% or 80% Demko, that's still a good goalie.
Of course, yeah.
Of course, it's Thatcher freaking Demko. But maybe if you have an aspiration of retooling, a higher pick would be good. But, Frankie's not going to let that happen, so...
Well, it's really interesting, because I think they know that mathematically it's over. Like you'd have to go on some unheralded run. Like you'd have to go, just on some kind of, I believe Satyar Shah, fellow handsome Iranian man of local Vancouver radio. He said something like, if they want, very true. Oh man, every time he comes on the TV, my dad's like, "Why don't you look like that?" I'm
Oh
like,
my
"I don't know.
God.
No, it's okay. It's okay. I love Sat, and my dad loves me. I'm the best. I'm the best child of the family, I think. So what ended up pretty much happening was that they would need to be 5 some odd games above 500 to even be like above 80 points. So they would need to go some form of distant, like some unheralded length of success in the last little bit to make the playoffs. So this isn't like you're asking your number one to come back and save anything. It's a really unique position to tell someone like Thatcher Demko, you've had hip issues, you've had some, knickknacks here and there. Don't rush back. Don't think that you need to be like Gandalf coming in out off the mountains of the east with the riders of Rohan coming in to save everyone. You don't need to do that. So yeah, it is really interesting the place that they're in. I think they're just going to find out what they have.
Yeah.
Thatcher's Thatcher, and they have to see if they can kind of mine some diamonds in the rough from the previous regime.
Yeah, I think it's definitely going to be an experiment over the next few weeks and months as Taka gets to learn the team. He's essentially running his own training camp now in the middle of the season, which is, like they said that on the broadcast, essentially a training camp because he's coming into the middle of the season. Team's doing bad. He said something interesting about having like pairings and then having other guys rotate with those pairings. I feel like he tried that during the game as well. Obviously the Pettersson and Kuzmenko one, that's going to be one that stays together. Mikheyev maybe also on that line. Seems to be the line that works the best. I know.
Yeah, they had some great chemistry together, those three, for quite a long time now.
Yeah. The Dries, Miller, and Garland line. Certainly an interesting one, but I happen to actually like it. I'm not going to lie. Dries and Garland are both little guys that can get into spaces and hit people. Dries got in a fight, which was
into a fight. He had an in between the legs goal. He probably won Canucks 50-50 in the middle of it. He went and he asked one of the ushers. He's like, I'm on fire tonight. Let me just see if I can make a performance bonus. That pairing I think the pairings like you just talked about. So there's PD Kuzmenko, Miller, Garland, Horvat, and Besser.
Yeah, Horvat and Besser definitely seems to be one. Not 100% sure if it's the one that it seems to be working, but who knows who's going to be staying from that line.
I wasn't offended by it. Definitely the pairings were the Miller, Garland, and PD Kuzmenko pairings that really kind of popped. Again, I thought like Dakota Joshua, going off the press conference where Rick came out and said, our top players can't be playing all situations 22, 23 minutes a night where they're playing like they're trying to preserve themselves, where you have to see if someone like Dakota Joshua being put into specific situations, if he can take a few minutes off the top players, if he can contribute a little more than he already has. Kind of moving forward, just seeing what they have. And I thought Dakota Joshua had a great game. Sheldon Dries had a great game. The two guys that, man, this party had everything.
Yeah.
We had a Luke Shen breakaway, 2 people fighting. Oh, what a time to be alive.
Shen did there was a lot of rough stuff throughout the game. It was a lot of hitting. It was like an old-timey Chicago Canucks game, except both teams are bad now. So
yeah.
essentially it's like a high school reunion, but no one got better. But everyone's
it's a high school reunion where everyone peaked in high school.
Essentially, yeah. Oh gosh. Unfortunately Lockwood left in the middle of the game with an injury. Hopefully he's okay. This could mean Lane Peterson was scratched tonight, means he could step into the lineup.
Or they trade multiple picks to get a foundational forward for the drive. No, I'm kidding.
They're gonna trade multiple picks and get Erik Karlsson.
Oh
Nothing
yeah,
retained.
nothing retained.
Nothing
And
retained. We're taking all of this.
we go back to the presser, and it's like, Jim, what happened? And then in comes in Jim Benning. He's like, you guys thought you got rid of me, huh? But haha, I've struck again. Like that.
And he disappears in a cloud of smoke.
I would love it if he was like Nightcrawler or whatever. He's just like poof or bamf or whatever and just goes off to the night. Yeah, just very interesting game. So they play Seattle tomorrow. Evidently they're pretty good on back-to-back, so we'll see. Spencer Martin's gonna get the start. Seattle is
a wagon.
Listen, I North Vancouver zone Martin Jones. I don't know why I said Matt Martin. I have a friend that from North Vancouver named Matt Martin. So Martin Jones has like 20 plus wins, sub 900 save percentage. I love it. I love the fact that they're like,
it's so goofy.
It's so Grant Fuhr where they're like, yeah, we just need you to make the save when you need to make the save. And our 4 lines will probably score. So.
Yeah. Seattle is insane this year. They're like the opposite of Chicago right now, where Chicago just can't score, but they're good defensively. Seattle has like defensive issues, goaltending issues. Well, not 100% defensive issues, but a lot of goaltending issues, and then they have this offense that's wild.
Can you imagine when they inevitably add Bo Horvat for Shane Wright?
Oh God, no!
Wow, confirmed. No! Oh my God, from the desk of Elliot Friedman's. Oh wait, no, that's a fake. That's a burner. Sorry.
No, Elliot Friedman got banned from the Canucks.
Yeah, Elliot Friedman is the reason why everything bad ever happened.
Oh my God. Okay. Before we get into that, we're going to take a break for a sec. Like, comment, subscribe, join in the chat. Like the video, share if you would like to.
Show your parents, shout it from the rooftops, get it out there.
Hit pots and pans like it's New Year's Eve. Like, just tell everyone. Wake up your neighbors. Light a firework off in your backyard, right directly next to your neighbor's house. That happened to me. No, I'm not going to incite. I'm not going to incite a riot. Not on my watch. Oh no, not again.
No. Oh no, not again.
It's only been 12 years. It's fine.
There's way too many people from the Fraser Valley on this SkyTrain. This is suspicious. Something bad's going to happen. Oh no.
Hey. Okay, I get it. Surrey has a bad rep, and we deserve it, but...
No, it's not that. It's I distinctly remember in 2011 when I was on a bus from Deep Cove North Van to what was then Vancouver Pizza, which was named Boston Pizza, but they changed it.
Yes!
They actually named it Vancouver Pizza.
Yeah. I was at BP the other day. I brought it up with my mom. She forgot about it.
It was great. It was the corniest little thing, but I was all right, whatever. And I distinctly remember like just being on early Facebook. Because you had Twitter, but people didn't. It wasn't like huge like it is today.
Yeah, I was 8, so.
Yeah, and I thought I was way older than I thought I was at the time. I thought I had it figured out, and then nope. And then what ended up happening was like just the amount of people that were flooding into downtown that had no care whether the Canucks won or lost. They're pre-drinking on the SkyTrain down.
Oh my God.
Like whatever happens is going to happen. So I promise you, I will not incite a riot with you tonight. And if we do, we cannot be held legally responsible.
Yeah, it's not our fault. Blame Elliot Friedman.
Blame Friedge. Yeah, just blame Jeff. No, don't blame them. I love Jeffy and I love Friedge. We have this bit on Pucks on Net where we just Ryan and I will talk like we're on 32 Thoughts.
Oh my God.
And so I'll just be Jeff and I'll be like, you know what, Elliot? There's an OHL team that's really good. Like really. And then free Elliot's like literally, this is what I love about Elliot. He has his AirPods in, and what he'll do is he'll literally be like washing dishes while they're recording. And I'll be like, oh yeah, Jeffy. okay, I don't want to get anyone upset. This is just my thought. But what if Connor McDavid tried to play in the CFL? I'm not reporting this. It's just something I thought of off my brain right now. I'm like, Rage, no, don't.
That's exactly what it's like, though. Like, listening, if you're listening to 32 Thoughts, I remember I would sit there and I worked in an office over the summer, and so I would have podcasts in my ear constantly.
Right.
And, I'd listen to the odd 32 Thoughts, and then I'd be sitting there like, what the hell is going on? And it was like during the playoffs too, so it was like half the time Elliot Friedman's in his car.
Yeah,
so
yeah,
like,
he's driving back home. Yeah. Oh my god, yeah, it was.
Or when he like cuts in because he forgot to add something and he's in like the shower.
He's in the shower, or like he's like audibly telling Jeff like, yeah, I'm having a beer while my kids are in the yard getting hit by a sprinkler, and you can just hear his kids scream. And I'm like, what? I love you, Frege. Like, keep doing what you're doing. And Jeff is never fazed by it. Unless Kevin BX is on the panel, in which Jeff is not going to have any of it.
Yeah, Kevin BX is... I love Kevin BX. Yeah, anyway, now we are in the era of a Tokic. That's not...
You got Memarzadeh, right? Come on, you got this.
Oh, Rick Tookit.
Rick Tookit, those Canucks.
Those Canucks. Bruce Boudreau. Boudreau. Yeah. Ground
All
Zero will be Scott Road moving forward.
It's like The Last of Us. What happened? Well, it started off in Scott Road.
Started in Scott Road, next to the Krispy Kreme.
Oh, my dad. Dude, my dad keeps talking about that Krispy Kreme like it's the Shire.
It honestly kind of is.
It's great. It's great. I go there. It has the neon signs. It's fantastic.
Yeah, I don't know. My dentist is like right next to it, so like the only time I get Krispy Kreme is when I go to the dentist, which feels like an oxymoron in a way, but
I'm like imagining your dentist having like a small window looking out into the Krispy Kreme, looking at you going in, and your dentist is just like,
oh my god,
I'm making money.
I'm making money. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Anyway, we're era of Tocchet. Forget donuts. We're in the era of Rick Tocchet. As a head coach, he has not had much success. He missed playoffs except for
that one time in Arizona in the bubble.
One time in the Arizona. Speaking of Arizona, he has apparently punched OEL, and OEL did not like it.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember this story. I think they were like he was trying to physically engage with OEL to mimic like a scrum, and then punch. So I don't know.
I think I read it that it was like he was trying to get players to be more tough and toughen up, and then he punches his captain.
Yeah, I'm gonna need a bit more context of story on that, though. I have heard it happened. Listen, I'll just say this. OEL was the first person to acknowledge Rick when he came out on the ice for the first practice. Like, he did the skate. OEL turned around and made sure he said hello to Rick. Like, that was the first intro that happened on the ice.
Yeah.
And you know what? I don't know. I think if there was supreme bad blood, it would be a little evident.
Yeah, I think it's just OEL. I feel like that's just the leadership in him. Because, former captain, now he's an alternate with us. He's obviously, in some kind of stalemate because he wanted to be in Vancouver, but now, like, everyone wants him out. So I feel bad for the guy. Which is kind of why I like him. Like, I feel bad for you.
You know what? I am never in my life ever going to blame someone for being paid what they're paid in the NHL, because someone had to offer you that contract.
Oh yeah.
And it is not within, like, it's different if you're offered that contract and your play falls off to the point where, effort isn't being shown. there's something about, if injuries pile up and that you have, certain mobility issues that go in, but you're a consummate professional. You're showing up to practices, you're engaged, you're all these things. Yeah. In terms of OEL, listen, we all kind of knew the stories before that, he had a lot of mileage for someone that was, just going into his 30s. He has a lot of mileage. He was one of those 23, 24 minute, minute munching D-men for majority of his career in an era that, lived with that, where minutes restrictions, no way. Duncan Keith is playing 45 minutes a night. Doesn't even matter. It's nothing bad will happen. He'll totally be fine. I just kind of look at where the Canucks are right now and Rick Tocchet coming in. And they're doing it like any decent restaurant. They're doing like an inventory. They're just, they're looking
seeing
down
what
the
they
list.
have.
Yeah, they're like, oh, what are we gonna do with all these eggplants? I don't know. You ever heard of baba ganoush? Never. No, I have no idea.
Oh my god, we're at a, what's that dish? It's like moussaka or something.
Yeah, moussaka. There you go.
Moussaka, yeah.
Yeah.
Like I remember making that in foods class in like grade 9.
Oh, foods class. Oh my god.
Gosh, yeah.
I remember that.
OEL played. Oh, he had the second most time on ice, but first for a defenseman. He had more more than Quinn Hughes. He had 23 minutes and 27 seconds.
Oh god.
Yeah.
Okay, sick.
Yeah.
Rick's like, how bad do you want to be in Vancouver?
Oh yeah, he's certainly testing. Connor Garland played 16 minutes.
Yeah.
And 13 seconds. Besser played almost 19 minutes.
Okay. How was the ice time for like Miller, Bow, and Petey?
Okay, Miller 19:16, Petey 18:26, so less than Besser, and then Horvat was 23:56.
Okay, so that's really interesting that Bow gets 23 minutes. He's taking those face-offs.
Yeah, that's the thing.
But it's interesting.
He took the majority. No one took over 10 face-offs aside from Bow, who took 22.
The Bow takes 22. I don't know what kind of stats you have in front of you. Do you know Miller's face-off percentage?
Miller took 7. He won 4, lost 3. He is 57.1%. Petey...
Yeah, first career average. He's really good.
First career average.
Yeah, that's
this is for the game.
Yeah. This is one thing that people kind of forget about JT Miller is that when we think of we think of a two-way centerman. Mm-hmm. We kind of use cliches like, okay, he has to be good at face-offs, and it's with JT Miller. It's he's been perpetually a very good face-off centerman. The issues have always been, okay, you won the face-off, but now what? Like what happens after the face-off, right? Yeah. So we'll see what the 200-foot game. Like, let's see how engaged he's really going to be, and then going forward from here.
Pedersen tonight went 12.5 in the face-off dot.
Ooh, man.
Curtis Lazar went 80.
Okay, good for Curtis.
4 and 1, so 80, and then Bob was 45.5 with 10 and 12.
Ooh, 10 and 12. Ooh.
Dakota Joshua won 2 face-offs.
Great for him. What a game.
Jack Studnicka won a face-off.
Yeah, we're seeing. Yeah, so people are just getting waved down going in. Yeah, we'll see how this 3 centerman experiment works. Right. Well, it'll be really interesting. And I'm a little confused. I didn't notice it. Did you notice that Quinn was on the right side, or did he start on the left tonight?
He started on the left with Shen. I know that.
Okay, so him and Shen. Okay.
Yeah, the pairings. I know that there was like from the practice the other day. It was like, oh yeah, Hughes and Myers, and I was like, what the hell? It's like that's not computing in my brain whatsoever.
I'll say this about Tyler Myers. I wrote my Botchford article on him. Mm-hmm. I've been following his career. There's something really beautiful about the concept of chaos, where you have to take the good and the bad with chaos. There's no like, I only want the good part of it. You have to take the full thing. So when he, 6'8", 6'7" defensemen are not supposed to skate like he does. And I'm pretty sure at his age, he's still figuring out the miracle that is him being on a patch of ice and doing what he does
And
with, you know,
being in the
gazelle-like.
NHL.
Being in the NHL and not being like Hal Gill, but actually being able to like skate and having some fluid moment.
He had a few in the last, I don't want to say like a certain stretch, but more recently I've noticed in the last kind of little bit of the season, he's had a lot of offensive chances. Like even tonight, he's like trying to like stick handle, like against the boards, like in the offensive zone. I'm like, do you not realize? But dude, I respect.
He every so often, Tyler Myers gets the courage that we like an 18-year-old after doing a shot of Jaeger gets, where he's like, you know what? Why I am gonna solo rush this and attempt to deke 3 players. And like majority of the times it fails, but when it works, you're like, damn, you just saw something.
Yeah, he'll like get like he'll sit there on the bench and then he's like, okay, next shift I'm going to be Trevor Zegras, and then just tries to do. I bet Myers is gonna attempt the Michigan one time before he retires. I hope he does. Yeah, the pairings were Hughes, Chen, Ekman-Larsson, Myers, Dermott, Burrows. So not much change there. One thing about OEL, I will kind of bring it back to him before we get into our last bit. Or not really our last bit, but it kind of is woven throughout. All topics kind of coincide with each other. OEL, he does have the most shots on net. For the game, he usually does. I do think he's pretty good with getting the shots on net. It's just the matter of fact that no one is able to tip them in, or it just, gets saved by a goalie because that's kind of their job. But, goaltending, I don't know. We can't really blame Colin Delia. He was not expecting to be here, but for this long.
I feel like we probably can blame him a little bit because the shots were what they were. And that's the Sam Lafferty goal was
not good.
Was rough. Was not good. Like that was, oh, you need to have that. Like that is not even. I don't even think he did that. It was even close to a serious offensive chance.
Yeah,
you need to have that. Just quickly going back to the OEL thing. That is one of his best traits since he came into the NHL, is that he's able to get shots in through screens. He's able to do that.
I feel like he's very smart hockey-wise with that kind of stuff. It's just that sometimes, some efforts, people see it and they decide to blame him. And, I feel like he's just unfairly carrying this giant contract on the weight of his shoulders. And everyone is just like, you suck. You are bad. You are the reason this team is bad. And then you just look at the evil man staring down from his tower onto Rogers Arena and you're like, oh, wait.
Listen, let's go back to Brandon Sutter. If you're in the NHL, you don't suck. Like you have to people have to understand how immensely talented you need to be. Like even the worst player you can think of off the top of your head.
Seth Jones. All-star Seth Jones.
All noted NHL All-Star Seth Jones.
Who got defensed by JT Miller. Like
nuts.
Whenever Miller does a defensive move of any kind, I have to make a note of it. And I feel like that's a bad thing, but hopefully I don't have to do that anymore.
He definitely has that dog in him, and I think that's the one thing with JT Miller is, oh my god. Okay, so I have a very stupid tattoo that I'm going to show you. It's on my wrist. And I don't know if I can show you. It's right there. It says PMA, and PMA stands for positive mental attitude, and something I learned in esports because I would tilt a lot. And tilting means, for anyone who doesn't know, it's a poker term that like after you lose a bad hand, the defeat is so large that every single hand afterwards you're playing worse and worse and worse and worse.
Yeah.
And JT Miller strikes me as someone that, when he gets tilted, it snowballs. So he'll go from, one giveaway to literally he's taken off his pads and his skate, and he is literally doing a Sudoku puzzle in the middle of the ice while, drinking herbal tea because he's like, I'm trying to calm down. I'm unraveling a panic attack. The one thing I really hope with Rick Tocchet is
just like me
just
for real.
well, it's just like we all know our triggers, and we gotta find a system to get us back down to level. And getting JT Miller back down to level, I hope, is Rick Tocchet in being able to kind of channel that a little bit, to not being tilted. And that was the one thing where Rick brought it up, where he talked about if you have a giveaway, you can't be upset that happened, and you can't sulk. If you have a bad play or someone makes a bad play, you can't get angry at that and then not back check.
Yeah, it kind of it makes me think of this was more of a goaltending thing, and I'm fully admitting this is from a hockey romance novel that I read, but it's
what's the name of the hockey romance? It's Hot Ice.
No, it's not like it's called Him. It's a gay romance hockey version.
That's sick.
Yeah, it was actually really good. I cried in the second one. There's like 3.
It's a trilogy.
It's okay. There's 2, and then there's like a novella to kind of end it off. It's a cute story. Anyway, one of the characters is goalie, and he's like the goalie coach at like this summer hockey school. And he's talking to one of the players, and he's like, and the young goalie, who's like 13 or something, is like overreacting. Right. He gets scored on. He's like slamming his stick. He's super angry. He's like swearing at the other players. And then the guy's like, hey, I think in the book he uses Tuukka Rask as an example. Right. What does Tuukka Rask do when he lets in a goal? He's just like, always calm down. He drinks his water bottle. He gets back into it. That's kind of like the thing that I'm thinking of, is like, as you go through these, you just have to accept that that's going to be a part of hockey. That is going to happen in this game. That is going to happen on this team. And then you just kind of like, okay, so I gave the puck away. That doesn't mean I need to slam my stick, and then Elias Pettersson's going to roll his eyes at me. Yeah.
No, that's the literal definition of positive mental attitude, where it's the rules of engagement are always changing, and within any game, no one's going to have a perfect game. Like there's no such thing. There's literally no such thing where a team has a perfect game. Even a pitcher that pitches a perfect game statistically is perfect, but there's mistakes made all throughout and varyingly. The difference being, how do you continually tell yourself, okay, this mistake was made, which changes the circumstances of our success, that we have to now do these things in order to be successful, as opposed to a bad thing happens and you're like, F word, dang, flipping a table, flipping the scoreboard, and, smashing a stick. It's like, well, the game is still being played. Like the circumstances have changed, but you've just decided to reject those things. Quick thing about this romance novel. I don't know if Tuukka Rask would be the first person I think of.
Yeah, that's the thing. Is especially when I read that too, I was just like, are we sure this is the right goalie? Like, they would mention hockey things sometimes, like actual hockey players and actual hockey teams. Like, they would say the Vancouver Canucks won the cup, and I was like, okay, be for real.
Well, in my head, when you asked me, when the person asked the goalie, what does Tuukka Rask do when he lets in a goal? Immediately in my head, I'm like, he throws a milk carton, an empty milk crate into his own bench, and then smashes his stick.
He throws the metal of his skate blade at the ref.
He just right in his face. He's like, look at what I have in my hand.
I think I have that picture in my phone somewhere. I just saw it recently.
Okay.
He is one of the good examples of chaos, I feel like. Somebody said in the chat, you would hope Miller would have figured out that mental aspect by now. Younger guys on the team seem to have a better handle on their emotions. I feel like that's a difference, because there's a difference in the league between, like, you could say the Elias Pettersson era of the late 2010 draft picks and like the early 2010 draft picks, because there's been a complete 180 on talk about mental health
Mhm.
in especially hockey and especially worldwide, but especially hockey. And the Canucks have done, significant part of that work. But
Mhm.
I feel like that's because maybe these younger players have more support when they're coming through their systems, versus like
Yeah.
what these. I don't want to say older because he's turning
Well,
30. He's not super old, but
what I would say on that is, at the end of the day, yes, they're athletes and they're being paid a certain amount of money, but everyone is born and raised with a different set of circumstances. And some
hmm
people find stuff out very early in life. Some people find out very late in life. It's a perpetual it's a consistent journey. And I would keep it in mind that, yeah, do I agree with certain things on the ice as a fan, just looking at it from the surface level? No, it's really frustrating. When I see JT Miller kind of smash a stick and sulk, and like I throw back to Braden Holtby looking befuddled, being like, I want my turtles and I want to leave, kind of deal. But what I would say is, at the end of the day, they're still human beings,
hmm
and they might still be figuring stuff out in their lives.
Yeah.
And it's a life is a journey, and regardless of your job, it's a journey. It's a progress. It's a progress. Um, and someone like JT Miller, like, yeah, he's into his 30s now, and maybe he figures it out. Maybe it does click for him, and I hopefully it does, or at least it clicks in a way that he can kind of not be as frustrated, or kind of show his physicality in that way, because I think it does also rub off on his teammates, where you see your teammate sulking or being really upset. And even on the Bruce night, where it was what was it, the oh god, was it the three the it was the goal that was disallowed, and we cut back to JT Miller on the bench, and he's like smashing his stick, being
Yeah.
really upset before. And you saw Andrei Kuzmenko and Petey just kind of like looking over, and even Kuz was like, "Oh, Jesus."
Yeah. Because Kuzmenko is just used to he's always smiling. He's always smiling, or there's like a complete blank look on his face. So
Yeah.
I wonder what goes on up there sometimes. But yeah, I feel like hopefully, people are saying, he's gonna get whispered. We discussed this. He's been whispered.
One for one.
One
One
for
for one. Let's see what
Um
let's see what tomorrow brings.
yeah. Oh gosh, yeah, they are playing tomorrow.
They are.
Um yeah, it'll certainly be something. All right, just before
No, go ahead.
Oh,
Don't worry.
okay.
I wasn't
I,
gonna say
I was
anything.
just gonna say, just before we get the last like two little points of the thing, like, comment, subscribe, rate, review if you're listening to a podcast platform, and kind of like turning into kind of we'll talk about this a little bit because we're almost out of time here, but I just wanted to talk about a little bit how you said you have to remember these people are still human beings.
Yeah.
I want to talk about, of course, I guess the slowest firing of a coach in NHL history.
Oh yeah. Wow.
Um, Obviously, Bruce Boudreau was not Jim Rutherford's guy. He definitely, it was an odd press conference
Hmm.
the other day when they announced Tocchet coming in.
Yep.
And then, like, when Alvin was like, oh yeah, I decided, like, today, but, like, Tocchet was already in town. And
Hmm.
alleged, I don't know if it's confirmed, or I don't want to get into it, but, like, the whole, he has to have 4 weeks notice for his
Yeah, the
broadcast.
TNT thing.
The TNT
Yeah.
thing, yeah. So it's like, was this really planned out? Because back in October, when the Canucks were completely winless,
Hmm.
Rutherford goes on After Hours. He's like, oh yeah, we had a bad camp. There's no structure.
Someone spiked the biosteel,
Someone spiked the. Ugh.
so our players were buzzed, skating around. No one could keep up. We're still trying to find out who did
A
it.
bear ran into our hotel in Whistler.
Slept in all our beds, ate all our porridge. No, we have no breakfast.
Used all our sticks. They ate them.
Chewed on all our composites. Now we have to play with our feet.
Yeah, so obviously the management team was not happy that Bruce Boudreau did use his option year, because Jim Rutherford said he was not aware that Bruce had another year on his contract.
Mhm.
And then in the press conference, he just goes, "Oh yeah, well I didn't bring him in. It was brought in by the ownership or something like that, something along those lines."
Right.
So he basically blames Aquilini, and then this is a lot of drama. So he blames Aquilini, and then proceeds to be like, "Oh yeah, no. Basically he treated Bruce as an interim coach, where the guy who you would usually treat as the interim coach got hired."
Right. Yeah.
Which does not make sense to me. Bruce, obviously,
Yeah.
I feel like in a way it was good because he got that last moment with fans. Because he was obviously very loved by the fans. He was loved by the
Right.
players. It's just, I guess it wasn't working out. But at the same time, did it have to be now?
You know, I've done a lot of the last few days, I just wrote an article kind of based on this, because one of my main things is I love addressing there'll be certain writers in the Vancouver market that are very analytical. They're very takes based. They're very X's and O's.
Mm-hmm.
I'm very much about the emotional heartbeat and resonance of the market, of why we feel the way that we feel.
Mm-hmm.
And what happened with Bruce, how I can kind of deduce things from the emotional homework I did, was what ended up happening was embarrassing to not only Bruce but to us,
Mm-hmm.
of how our franchise, your local home team, is supposed to treat others. How people in Vancouver, on a day-to-day basis, people who live here, call it home, that are rabid Canucks fans, that wear jerseys, our parents, I'm first generation. My mom and my dad are lifelong Canucks fans.
Mm-hmm.
My dad, would adopt Alex Burrows as a son if he could. Um, but at the end of the day, we have to hold accountable our sports teams to be the proper representation and reflection of who we are. And when they fail to do that, it's a very jarring thing. It's a
Mm-hmm.
very terrifying thing, because I think what happened was, when we saw that happen to Bruce, part of us, kind of deep down inside, maybe you saw Bruce and you saw maybe your parents, your mom and your dad, someone that was older, maybe, not the end of their life, but they're coming to a crossroads where they might not have the certain amount of opportunities they had before.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe, we saw part of ourselves where we said, if they can do this to someone as nice as Bruce, if a management structure, and sorry I'm going on here, I'll wrap up, but if you have a
Okay.
management structure where it's a GM and three AGMs,
Mm-hmm.
how do they not see this? How are
Yeah.
people that are hired to be smarter than us not able to just have a little bit of the foresight to think, okay, this is no longer speculation. The cat is out of the bag. They know we're dropping an iPhone without a bezel. So we might as well just tell them we're dropping the iPhone without the bezel,
Mm-hmm.
so that we can get ahead of it. Um, part of it, part of the hurt also comes from, if they can do that to Bruce, what's stopping them from doing anything like that to us as fans, of not caring, of them
Yeah.
saying, we're going to do this the way we want to do it? That was the frightening part. That's Kai, I don't know if you listen to any other post game shows, because you shouldn't, because this is obviously the best one. But there is one on the local radio, which it's the same people that call in all the time. But oddly enough, on the Sunday before the presser, the people that were calling in weren't just like Gary from Maple Ridge and Mike and another Gary, but it was it was older women. phoning in to say that, I'm a lifelong Canucks fan. I don't really call in, but I just wanted to say that it hurt me seeing how we treated Bruce. Your
Yeah.
sports teams are not supposed to do that. And they did that. And I'm not 100% sure that that's going to be a hurt that people forget about easily.
Yeah, that's the thing. And people are saying it's bad for free agency. Um, it's bad for free agency. It's bad just for the community and of Canucks fans in general. Like, I was talking a few weeks ago how it's not. I was saying, when the Canucks are bad, when your hockey team is bad, it's not exactly a not like people don't bandwagon essentially, and like you're not attracting new fans, but then you do, and then even the fans that you still have, you're still turning them away because, like I have friends that are like, oh yeah, no, I'm completely checked out of this season. Like this is like I'm not in it anymore at all. Because they're just like it's appalling. Imagine knowing you're getting fired, but then they don't do it for another week, and then apparently Elliot Friedman is saying that he got a call from somebody in Vancouver. I'm not sure if it was organization based or something. He said he got a call from somebody in Vancouver and said that they told him it was his fault that Bruce got fired, when it's obviously Jim Rutherford had this planned since the season, probably before the last season even ended.
Yeah. And so it's really tough because I'm not sure if a winning streak or a wild card position is going to make a lot of people forget. It's just weird because sports teams are supposed to be your escape. They're supposed to be the thing that after a really bad day you can just go and be a member of the Canucks. The Canucks organization or the Canucks collective. You can sit and take part in it. What they're not supposed to do is make you feel like, we can be disappointed on the on-ice product. We can be disappointed about trades, be disappointed about their lack of structure with cap space. We shouldn't be disappointed with how they treat people.
Yeah.
That's when you get to a really dangerous position. And I felt like that was a bubble. That was a bubble that burst over this weekend. Was that not only did you affect people in the Lower Mainland, like my friends that are in England that are expats, the Canadian expats are talking about like, yeah, I saw this on this, saw this report on like the BBC ticker. And I saw this, and I saw like this. What did the Canucks do to this guy? It's spread quite around the world, and that's the representation of us, and our image is tarnished because of that. And they really do need to understand that this isn't just like, it's a thing that's going to escape in a media cycle, because pain and hurt, they can stay with you for a very long time.
It's not exactly the Quinn Hughes comment about Tanner Pearson's injury. It's going to be remembered. Especially, like you said, it's getting worldwide. Like, that's how the whole Rick Tookit Canucks, that's how that clip happened. It was a Fox News broadcast in Washington, D.C., which is across the continent from us, and they're reporting on it.
How did the reporter get Bruce Boudreau wrong? Bruce was the coach.
I don't know. Like, hockey in the States is not, not the biggest sport, and plus he hasn't been there for a number of years, but still. I don't
still
know.
just like do a little check.
Yeah, it's
you got a phone.
We're in the embarrassment. We're the laughing stock of the NHL, and there's a team that plays in a college arena.
They're having great, as long the theory is, as long as everyone gets their homework in at time, then they can play. Jacob Chitrin's like, all right, I got my calc homework done, I can play.
Just like one player just comes in like halfway through the first because they were in the middle of a lecture.
And that player is absolutely Troy Stetcher.
Oh, 100%.
100%. Sorry, Phoebe needed me to take her out for a little walk.
Troy from Richmond, I miss you. Anyway, I think it's about time we wrap that up, getting through the news and getting through the emotions of Rick Tockett's first game. We will see how he does tomorrow and Saturday, and
Yes.
that's it before the All-Star break. And then we have the All-Star break, and who knows, Bo Horvat might have a different patch on his jersey than the Canucks logo.
Who knows? Who knows? The Western Conference now might need to go get another All-Star in there. Who knows?
Yeah, they should ask Luke Schnell. He might be gone too.
Most painful hitter.
Okay,
everyone. We're just gonna. What is it? Who would be really funny to see? So let's see.
Who is on the All-Star?
I'm just trying
I feel
to.
like Elias Pettersson could do it a run for his money.
He would. Yeah, he would be.
That hit center ice tonight, just like oh.
Ooh.
Nick Suzuki would be funny.
You know what?
Jack Hughes.
In my brain, what I'm thinking of is like a specific celebrity that would get hit by NHL players along the boards and then deem who hit him or her the hardest.
I feel like we should get Dave Bautista for that.
Yeah, or like, I don't know, Machine Gun Kelly and just like tape him to the boards and
just have at her. Last year they should have done that. They should have done that with Brendan Urie.
Yeah, Brendan.
Because then he could have still said that he was like, "Oh, I'm from Panic at the Disco," but now he can't say that. So
you can't say that anymore because they don't exist anymore. It's done.
It's done finally.
The dream's over, guys.
The nightmare's over.
Well,
Anyway,
chimed in. Yeah.
Anyway, yep, that's it. That's it for tonight with the Panic at the Disco / Vancouver Canucks updates. I have been Kaja. You can find me at Real Kaja May on Twitter. It's Kaja with a J. And where should the people find you?
Yes, well, my name's Arash Memarzadeh. You can find me at Arash Memarzadeh on Twitter. You can also find me as the co-host of Pucks on Net, at Pucks on Net CA. We're on all your podcast platforms, Spotify, Apple, any podcatcher. We're there. We release a episode every Monday, about an hour and a half, with my co-hosts that have been doing this for much longer than I have, but we're around for a reason, and I think that's because people might like us a little bit.
Maybe, just maybe. I don't know. I like you guys.
It's money laundering. It's okay.
I mean, that's very fitting with the Lower Mainland. Anyway,
dear CRA, please do not take that. That was satire.
For legal reasons, that's a joke.
For legal reasons, that's a joke.
Just place that bit of like the PewDiePie song or whatever it was.
Oh my god.
All right. This has been Game Over Vancouver. Like, comment, subscribe, rate and review on podcast platforms, and I believe Sam is on tomorrow night. So
awesome.
All right, go Canucks. I don't really.
Do the best you can.
Do the best you can.
Kind of tank.
Yeah, kind of. There's this kind of is Connor. We already have a Connor, but like, this guy's better. He's probably also taller. Anyway, good night, everybody.
Game over! Powered by Sports Interaction, Canada Sportsbook.